You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Well, happy Thursday evening, folks. This is Scotty Roberts. You're listening to the Intrepid radio program right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. Come on over, see all the goodness. It's Odyssey Radio. Find out all the different outlets where you can hear this show in its audio format. And at the same time, come on over to my YouTube channel and watch the video simulcast along with the world's best chat room inhabited by the fellow Intrepids over at youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. If you've missed any of the last 300 shows I've done, they're all archived over on my YouTube channel. Just scroll down on the main page, look for the Intrepid Radio Play All, and it will bring up the whole list going chronologically backwards to the very beginning. Now, the live chat room plays in every one of those archived shows. You just won't be able to participate because it's all recorded. Now, you can, however, make new comments on the videos below the video in the comments section. So go check it out. Avail yourself of the past shows that we've done, and come on over tonight. If you're just listening, come on over. Join the live chat room and join in the fun and participate in the conversation that's going on right now. At the same time, go over to my checkout, my Etsy page. That's Etsy, etsy.com/shop. That part's real easy. / the name of my shop, Son of a Patriot. Son of a Patriot. So etsy.com/shop/Son of a Patriot. I know Matt or Audrey or somebody's going to type that in for us. So thank you ahead for that, guys. Go on over, see all the designs I've done. Designs for t-shirts and hoodies and all the other stuff. Mainly I've done a design or two for all the different shows and topics that we've done on the Intrepid radio program, as well as older stuff that I've done. So go in and take a look. Political stuff, patriotic stuff. Go check out my Betsy Ross flags. Go check out all that stuff and avail yourself of some. Just ask people in the chat room who've bought garments over there, and you'll get the idea what you're getting into when you get something. So check it out, etsy.com/shop/Son of a Patriot. And while you're at it, go see my wife, Rainey's site on Etsy, which is just, instead of Son of a Patriot, it's Mama Hathor's Studio. Studio or studios? Studio, singular. Mama, M-A-M-A, Hathor, H-A-T-H-O-R-S, Studio, S-T-U-D-I-O. So check hers out, too. See all the stuff that she makes these custom... Hey, do you have one of your custom journals sitting right there, Rainey?
I got one of them.
And she's working on one right now. Here's just the cover, the inside cover and the outside cover. This is what she does. So if you're watching, you get a chance to see these. Some of you have purchased some of these. And then she'll put a journal in here, usually of handmade papers and stuff like that. Ooh, this is one of my favorites. This Celtic one. You can see what she does. Boom, boom, boom. And it's your journals. And she does lots of creative stuff with these. These are all hand done by Rainey. So there you go, folks. If you're only listening, you can't see that. Give me one of the really cool, yeah. Oh, look at that one. Okay. Oh, Halloween's coming. Happy Halloween. I wish it had a tongue hole so you could go inside and go like that and stick your tongue out. But there, that's one that she just finished for Halloween. What else you got over there?
That one's
it's right there. Oh, I like this one. This has got that little... the great circle of life, Simba. The spiral of life. So there you go. Once again, all handmade stuff. And she's got all kinds of handmade papers and stuff in there.
All bright and colorful.
Oh, look at how bright and colorful this one is. Boom, boom. I got to hold that up a little closer because the light kind of washes that out. The delicacy of the lace border. So there you go. Oh, that one's not quite done yet.
No, that one's not done.
Here you go for you romantic types.
Oh, honey, I love you. Here's a book for you to fill out all your love letters for me. In.
So there you go. That's some more of her stuff. You can see. Boom. There you go.
That's it.
You got any of those deer antler ones left? Or are those all gone?
Those ones I sold all the stag heads.
Did you? All the stag heads are gone?
Yes, I think.
What's that one on the far left? Did I already show that one?
That one's a work in progress.
Oh, this one's a work in progress. Okay. It's just a cover she's working on. She's got nothing on there yet. So that'll have the guts all put in eventually. So there you go. So that's what Rainey does. It's that kind of stuff, and also the statuary that you can pick up. We've got a bunch of Egyptian statuary that you can get. It's not authentic historical artifacts. You can't take those out of Egypt. We'd be arrested. It's all replica stuff that Rainey sells. So go check her out, Mama Hawthorne's Studio at Etsy. So that's all we got so far for announcements. And look at that. We've used up 5 minutes and 55 seconds of our show already, just announcing where we are, where to find us, and all of our Etsy stuff.
Man, you
And
talk a lot.
I know. I talk a lot, don't I?
Totally.
All right, so let's get into it. Tonight I want to talk about something, in a way it's kind of segueing off of what we talked about last night. It's politics without being politics. It's culture, I call this stuff. It's all about our culture. It's all about why we do the things we do in politics. And tonight I want to ask you a question, and I'm sure a lot of you run into this. We're talking with people in social media or at gatherings, and inevitably, when you start talking about politics, and if you disagree, you walk away from that going, do liberals and conservatives even speak the same language? Because it just seems to me like the way my point of view on something is very common sense, and it makes sense, and I don't know why they're not getting it, and they probably think the same thing. So there's new research that's showing that the political left and the political right communicate incredibly differently, as if we didn't know that already. And over the course of the 2020 election cycle, each candidate has stuck to their overall message. Now, you've noticed that. President Trump speaks of strength, while Vice President Biden underscores the need to heal. Research suggests that this is no mistake. Indeed, studies have even demonstrated that liberals and conservatives communicate absolutely differently. Take an ambitious study led by Joanna Sterling of Princeton University, in which she and her collaborators sought to better understand the differences in linguistic styles between conservatives and liberals. And what made this study stand out from the previous work on this subject was its scope. Sterling and her collaborators analyzed the spontaneously, naturally occurring use of language of nearly 25,000 Twitter users who sent a total of 11,703,650 tweets. And the investigators, when they analyzed these texts using a whole linguistic inquiry and word count program, this dictionary-based software program contains roughly 6,400 word components and 90 psychologically relevant word categories. And the authors also employed several other dictionary-based methods in their analysis of these tweets. And by combing through prior work, Sterling and her team derived this broad range of hypotheses about the ways in which conservatives and liberals communicate differently. Now, we already knew that, but this study shows how we communicate differently. And it fell into 5 domains. And the following is a selective overview of their findings. It goes kind of like this. First domain is affiliation and power. Extending previous research on dispositional motives and political communication, the team focused on 2 motives and their use in language by conservative and liberal Twitter users. Affiliation motivation refers to the development and the maintenance of close, warm relationships. Power motivation, by contrast, is about the desire to have influence and control over other people. The third dispositional motive is achievement, but this was found to be unrelated to political linguistics. So the result of this study found that conservatives used more language on Twitter referencing power than liberals, while words like show and say were top words for liberals. They weren't for conservatives. And meanwhile, words such as God and win appeared in the list for conservatives, but not liberals. So, like we say, the liberals need more boxes of tissues than do the conservatives. That's my own editorial on their research. Now, then there was the personal values category. Personal values are the behaviors, the events, the objects, and the ideas that people deem important to them. Remember, a couple of nights ago, we talked about what are your personal values, the things that you value and bring to life in all those different categories. And so according to one theory, there are 10 basic value dimensions that appear across cultures. Here they are: universalism, benevolence, conformity, tradition, security, power, achievement, hedonism, stimulation, and self-direction. And in keeping with previous work, these investigators found that conservatives' tweets were more than likely to reference power, security, tradition, and achievement. And by contrast, liberal tweets were more likely to reference benevolence. You know what benevolence means. Here, I'll look it up just to define that for you. Benevolence. Benevolence means the quality of being well, the quality of being well-meaning, kindness, goodness, goodwill, etc. So while the conservatives showed power and what else did we say? We said they showed power, they showed conformity, tradition, and things like that. The liberal side, in contrast, showed benevolence. So these are the personal values that they held to. And ideology as a motivated social cognition. Social cognition. Let this sink in so I don't talk through it too fast. Ideology as motivated social cognition. So according to the theory of political conservatism as motivated social cognition, those on the right strive to establish certainty, order, structure, to seek and decrease existential conditions like fear, threat, insecurity. And in turn, these strivings are aligned with a preference for tradition and hierarchy. So two social spheres that are at the heart of conservative thinking and in contrast from liberals. So would these ideological differences surface in the language used in tweets? The results revealed that conservatives were more likely than liberals to send messages with language that reflected certainty, resistance to change, references to the past and how well things worked, inhibition, threat, and risk focus. Contrary to expectation, conservatives used tentative language and talked about the future more than liberals did. So then there's the needs for uniqueness and conformity. In addition to a thinking style of conservatism, it's also been argued that there's a relational style as well, in which people strive for social belongingness, a sense of a shared reality with like-minded individuals. Indeed, studies have found that conservatives place greater importance than liberals on conformity, loyalty, embracing convention. By contrast, liberals show an illusion of uniqueness, with research suggesting that they see their own views as more distinctive than they really are. So these psychological stances are captured in language use. And building on previous work, Sterling and her collaborators hypothesized that more frequent use of first-person singular pronouns, I words, I, would reflect a greater desire for uniqueness, whereas more frequent use of first-person plural pronouns like we, us, and so on, would reflect a group similarity and adherence to conformity. Now, as expected, the investigators found that conservatives used more first-person plural pronouns, that is, the word we, than liberals. And there were no differences in the use of I. So then there came the emotional expression. According to theory, liberals show moral outrage, anger at injustice, and excitement, and are more focused on the attainment of positive outcomes. In other words, the approach-related emotions. And so by contrast, it's believed that conservatives show more anxiety, calm, and have a prevention-oriented focus on risk management. In other words, avoidance-related emotions. So building on this work, the investigators hypothesized that liberals would use more positive emotion words, whereas conservatives use more negative emotion words in their tweets. And so in keeping with expectations, conservatives' tweets contained more negative emotion than those of liberals. And conservatives also sent more tweets with anger-related language, comporting with public opinion data, finding that rightists tend to express more anger than leftists. So contrary to expectations, however, the investigators didn't find ideological differences when it came to the use of positive emotions or anxiety-related language. Conservatives' top negative emotion words included threat sensitivity words like attack and terror, whereas liberals' language was less overtly threatening. In other words, they use the word fuck and sorry a lot. So politicians and their surrogates understand the vital importance of having this clear message to communicate to the public, especially during an election season. And this study that was done is one that helps us better read between the lines. And so when you look at liberals and conservatives, they speak the same language, but they're in a totally different language. It's like the language of male and female. There is male English and there is female English. For here, we'll use a blatant example. How about this? Rainey, since you're in the room,
Yes.
if I said to you, hey, is it all right if I go down to the strip club with the boys? What would you say?
Sure.
Sure, you do whatever you want.
You do whatever you want.
There you go. See now, male and female English. Honey, can I go to the strip club with the boys? Sure, honey, you go do whatever you want. And as a guy, I would say, male language, she said I could go. Female language, Rainey, what would you really mean by that?
It would be like, wow, you're really planning on going out. You're not taking my credit card.
There you go. Yeah, and so it's a lot more negative than I may have said the same thing. To be, to mean, to interpret. And so there's male, female English, there's conservative, liberal English or language, and I think we see that being played out all the time, every day in our society. Conservatives, as the study said, tend to focus on being prepared, having your bases covered, protecting yourself, tradition, family, and the words when they said that they use more attack and terror words, meaning they're afraid of attack. They're afraid of being attacked, or don't attack me for my views, and that there's terror that's out there. Whereas the liberal side would be more benevolent, they say. They would be the ones that would say, let's all get together and sing Kumbaya. And where the conservative might say, let's prepare everybody, the liberal might say, let's all pool our resources and we'll all get along working together just fine. Things like that. There's different languages and different approaches to doing things. And so once you have a pretty good handle on the fact that conservatives and liberals, for the most part, the two categories in this country, you do have centrists, but we're talking about the extremes here. How do you counter the forces that drive political polarization in our country? Which is what we're experiencing now. Polarization. And with the difference in the conservative and liberal language, everybody's got their own viewpoint on why we're polarized, why we're divided. What is the source of divisiveness in our country? Is it just the guy that sits in the Oval Office? That creates division? Or do we create division, arguing over whether or not it's right having that person in that seat, in that room, in that leadership role? And so recent research is going to help explore and explain the current political animus that's out there. America is divided as a nation. If you didn't know that, we're probably less unified now than we've ever been. Now, I want to say that that's on an experiential level. On the positional level, we are still the United States, and we will still all fight for the freedom of our country and to preserve our freedoms. That's where we become unified. Where we are not unified is on the day-to-day stuff. It's like I've talked about with religion. I've talked about it with relationship. I see these two lines that run across in a linear form. One line is the position we have. When I was in Christianity and teaching in Christianity, I would say, you are a Christian, you are saved, you are the regenerated. You're on this line, this parallel, or this linear line of positionally pure, positionally saved, positionally God's child. But you ride the second line, which is a roller coaster, which goes up and down, running basically parallel to that positional line, but that's the experiential line. Some days you're on a high, some days you're on a low. Sometimes you feel like you're right with God, sometimes you feel you aren't. So there's positional and experiential. I believe the same thing is, possible is not the word I'm looking for, but the same thing exists in our stance as a country. We are unified. We are the United States with liberty and freedom, and everybody has opportunity positionally. Experientially is the roller coaster. People experience different things, and therefore it creates animus. It creates a spirit of division, divisiveness, where we are against each other. And we are against each other, and it goes into our conservatism, our liberalism, our political ideologies, because we say this ideology is going to be the one that saves us, this is going to be the one that sinks us. And vice versa. So that positional and experiential is kind of the drive. So America is divided. And even though there's some debate about the degree to which Democrats or Republicans actually disagree on policy issues, in recent years the vitriol between people of opposing parties has steeply sharpened and risen. And both Democrats and Republicans see members of the other party as hypocritical, selfish, closed-minded, and what's more, they don't even want to socialize with each other. So technically speaking, this is called effective polarization, and it refers to the animosity between people of opposing political parties. We've got to go out
awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad, so he can take me to Disneyland.
All right, gang, thanks for coming back and sitting on through that break. This is Scotty Roberts. You're watching and listening to the Intrepid radio program right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. Come on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio, all the different outlets where you can find this show. Also, come on over during this second segment, check out the YouTube video simulcast. That's this show in video, along with the live chat room, which is going on right now, active right now. Come on in, join the conversation. They talk about the show. They talk about all kinds of other stuff. They talk about Steve's cars. They talk about Matt's new house. They talk about things like that, but they also all contribute to the show. So come on over, make some new friends with the other Intrepids who listen to this show over at youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. All right, let's pick this up right where we left off. And we've got roughly 26 and a half minutes to do it. So let's hit this hard. We started by talking about how America is divided. And, we started off even before that in the first segment. If you're just joining us for the second segment, we talked about the different languages that conservatives and liberals speak. And this is the basis, the foundation for not understanding each other's points of view. And that is one of the things that's driving the political polarization in our country. And America is divided. And we've been debating over the degree to which Democrats and Republicans actually disagree on policy. But the vitriol has risen. I have lost more friends over the last 2 years than I have in my lifetime. Some of them, Facebook friends, social media friends, you don't know them really well. You've never even met and had a beer together or shook each other's hands and looked each other in flesh eyes eye to eye. Some of those friends, but they're people you've talked to for a while, they stop talking to you because they disagree with you politically. And sometimes it's quiet. Other times it's they leave and they let you know what a scumbag you are, no matter what your position is. Then there are the real life friends. I've had at least 3 friends that I've known for over 20 years. Flesh and blood. Good friends. People I've hung out with. People whose kids I know. People who've been very close and loved friends that have discontinued friendships with me because I'm a Nazi or I'm a whatever the charge might be. And it's all politically driven. One friend was, I can't believe you voted for who you voted for, and I just can't be your friend anymore. I'm like, what? We got a lot more in common than what our politics were. We've always known each other's politics. Why is this different? It's because of the personality. You will find the left say of the right, there's a cult of personality. The Trump cult. People on the right will say there's the Biden cult or the Obama cult. It was before that. And it's funny how we've always known that we have political lives, but there are friends now that have elevated that to the point of, I can no longer be your friend because we disagree on politics. That's the rigidity that has come to having disagreements as even friends. And technically speaking, this is called affective, AFF, affective polarization. And it refers to the animosity between people of opposing political parties. And in a recent paper, political scientist Shanto Iyengar, I have a hard time with these names that don't have enough consonants in them. Iyengar, Iyengar, maybe? It was Shanto Iyengar of Stanford University. And his collaborators, they traced the origins of affective polarization, its consequences and steps that we can take to mitigate it. And the following is a selective summary of their work, and I'm going to go through and detail what their findings were. Now, this, of course, all will hail back to the big question. Do you want there to be political polarization, or do we want unity? Can you be polarized politically and still unified as a nation? Is it as simple as the positional and the experiential lines that I talked about that run concurrently, parallel to each other? So, affective polarization. Let's look at that for a second. Humans are naturally driven to be a part of a group. And we derive a sense of self from our group identity. We talked about this not long ago. I'm a Star Trek fan, and it's fun knowing other Star Trek fans, or Star Wars, or whatever, in pop culture. There are groups. Christianity. Christians like to hang with Christians at church on Sunday morning. Christians don't want to hang with Satanists on Sunday morning. They want to hang around with people of like belief. And we just got the best shirts, Rainey and I. We're going to have to wear them at different times. We got one for her and one for me. It's a red shirt, and it says, what's it say? Get behind me? What's it say on those shirts? Get behind me, Satan? Not today, Satan. So I've got that shirt. I'm going to wear that pretty soon. Not today, Satan. And, boy, there's a lot of great answers for that. You know, I got people that'll say things, saying, you're a Nazi in this line. I want to just go, not today, Satan. So identifying as a Democrat or Republican is a significant part of a lot of people's identities in this country. It doesn't have to be Republican or Democrat. It can be conservative or liberal. It can be progressive or conservative. Conservative doesn't change much. But you got all these different kinds of names on the left. And so it can be those things, but those are identities that we have that are a significant part of who we are, and they tend to develop early in our life. As a function of instinct, when we identify with a political party, we categorize our social world into a group, an in-group, our party. Are you part of the in-group? Are you a Democrat? I am. Come and be with me. Or an out-group. We're having a cookout on Friday for Republicans only. Or we're part of the out-group, the opposing party. So copious studies demonstrate that an in-group, out-group structure, even in trivial matters, conjures positive feelings for the in-group and negative feelings for the out-group. And the more strongly people identify with their political party, the more trenchant these divisions between Democrats and Republicans become. And it's so interesting to watch how many people I have known over the last 20 years that were friends of mine. I'm going to take an example and say the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. I was out there for 15 years or so, and it's been 15 years since I've been part of the working cast out there. But I've got a lot of friends from that time period. And I would say, without sounding like I'm being cocky or egotistical, I was popular enough to have a lot of friends out there. And I knew a lot of people. And there were a lot of popular friends out there that I was friends with. Popular in the sense that people knew who you were. They enjoyed the act that you were putting on. And they enjoyed your shtick at the festival. And they hung out with you. When I turned 40, which is almost 20 years ago now, believe it or not, it'll be 20 years this November. When I turned 40, I had a birthday party, and I invited Open Door from Fest. Anybody who wants to come out to my birthday party, come on out. And I must have had 150 people there. And even Rainey was there, and she was dating a guy that I knew who was part of the group I was part of at the festival. I didn't know her very well, though. But 20 years ago, she was 20, and I was 40. So she was barely legal. But I knew who she was, and she came to that party even.
She robbing the grave.
She was robbing the grave. People said, I'm robbing the cradle. She says, I'm robbing the grave. And so it's always nice to have her in the studio with me, doing her own thing over there. And so I had a lot of friends, and there were a lot of friends who had a lot of friends. But now I've noticed today, there's a lot of people from the festival that don't like me and don't like me anymore. All that Scott Roberts, he's this and that and the other thing. And it's purely because of my politics over the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm still a nice guy. And I don't go out and I don't mistreat people. I don't verbally assault people. But I stand up for what I believe, and I challenge them when they answer things to me or say things to me. I challenge them. Well, why do you believe that? Tell me why you believe that when this is so. Well, I'm not going to like you. Mic drop, and they're gone. So the authors of this study, they argue that affective polarization is a natural outgrowth of partisan group identity. It used to be with festival people, that was the in-group, and non-festival people was the out-group. Oh, we're festival, they're not. Please. And now it's changed to within the in-group, there's the in-group and the out-group of politics. So people identify as Republicans or Democrats, and they see people belonging to their party in positive terms, and those belonging to the opposing party in negative terms. And again, it doesn't have to be strictly Republican or Democrat. It can be conservative or liberal, progressive or whatever the opposite of progressive is, conservative, and so on and so on. So the origins of affective polarization. The authors argue that in today's world, there are several factors that exacerbate this in-group versus out-group dynamic. First, the number of partisans who identify with the party that more closely matches their views has grown substantially. When you have a situation, as we do in America, where most Democrats are liberals and most Republicans are conservatives, you're going to encounter less political and social conflict with those of your party, and you'll see people of the other party as different from you. So, a good for instance with those festival friends of mine, most of them who are liberal are the Me Tooers as well. They are the pro-LGBTQ. More so, they're pro-transgender and things like, take all the very conservative, progressive issues and say they are more those things. Now, I know conservatives that are pro-LGBTQ. They're pro-gay marriage. I am. And without explaining what I mean by that and all its details. But you find that there are things within those groups that start to divide them. And it's believed this political self-sorting leads people to see those of their own party and the other party in more extreme terms. So where 20 years ago I was still I was a Republican 20 years ago, I'm not a Republican anymore, but I am a conservative, and I tend more Republican when I vote, but I'm not a member of the Republican Party. But back 20 years ago, it didn't mean as much as it does now. Now, it's a reason for people to not like me because I'm on the out group of their in group, which the whole group of us used to be the in group because we were all festival people. So second, having more media outlets, including more partisan news outlets, is ramping up affective polarization. The thinking goes that partisan news activates partisan identities, and so in turn sparking heightened negativity toward those of the opposing parties. And so in addition, the imbalance of news content, as well as harsh portrayals of outgroup members, may lead viewers to embrace more extreme political positions than they otherwise would, subsequently increasing affective polarization. Similarly, we might be more exposed to partisan content in both on and offline discussions with those in our social networks. So, and furthermore, political campaigns also stoke partisan acrimony through advertising that often portrays the opposing party as a threat. Oh, and by the way, if you ever want to get out of an online or a phone survey when they call you, I had somebody call me this morning, want me to be part of a political survey. And one of the first questions they asked me in the first 30 seconds was, are you or have you ever been part of an advertising agency or in marketing? I go, yes, I'm in advertising now. I said, I'm a creative director. I don't work for an agency. I work for myself, but I've been in advertising for 35 years. I go, okay, well, that will end our questions for today. Thank you very much. So if you want to get out of answering questions in a survey, just tell them you're in advertising. I'm in advertising. Is that okay? So let's move on to the consequences of affective polarization. Now, political partisanship has spilled over into even, yes, our love lives. Now, I'm pretty lucky. My wife, whom I love, who traipses in front of me naked, is of the same political belief system that I am. So that helps us. Right, honey?
Totally not.
And so partisanship is a method by which to screen romantic partners nowadays, which makes sense since political party has become a shorthand to signal one's views and values. So when you're dating someone, if you're newly or you're looking for somebody out there and somebody asks you, so I kind of like you, should we get together for coffee? And what political party do you support? Do you support the president or not? And that's going to be a big leading question nowadays. You're looking at me, my dear, my love, my Rainey, like you're going to say something.
And only because I'm hearing what you're saying, and it irritates the crap out of me that people are that petty and little, that they have to judge a relationship based off of somebody's political status. Like, serious.
Yep.
What's wrong?
Yep.
What's wrong with people?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, if you're part of the Green Party or whatever else. If you're a
But
good
you
person,
could you also see, if, let's say you were a big Biden supporter
yeah.
and I was a big Trump supporter, do you think we would get along still?
We would, because I have respect for you, whether or not you're political.
You all heard that, folks.
Respect, yes. Well, yeah, I respect you, but
Yes.
it really comes down to respect. If you can't respect somebody based off of their political stuff, there's something wrong here mentally in your own head.
What do you do with the argument when people will say that I can't respect you as a person because I can't respect your process of making your political decisions? You obviously don't care about the same things I care about and stuff. But what would you say to somebody who says that about their partner?
I would say that you actually have no respect for yourself and your own values, that you can't value and respect my opinion. And
There
you
it
need
is.
to take a deep look inside and see what's going on with you, that one thing can cause so much hate and disrespect. Oh, it irritates the crap out of me.
Me too.
Yeah.
Folks, that was my wife, Rainey Roberts.
Yeah.
You can catch her here most times when we do our Sunday morning show. We do that live on Sunday morning without the radio. It's not broadcast on the radio. It's just over on the YouTube stream. And you get to see more of Rainey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like seeing more of Rainey.
Come and see on Sundays.
Woo!
All right, I'm gonna let you get back to your show.
All right.
Okay, have fun.
I thought it would be good to get
Enjoy.
her take since she's standing right here. And she was kind of looking at me as I was talking. It was like,
'Cause I have a lot to
I got
say
something to
about that.
say. I got
Oh.
something to say.
It irritates me. It irritates me that
It
people
irritates
are
her.
so petty. Be a grown up. Be respectful.
That's right.
Be a grown up.
That's right.
Put your big girl panties on. Put your big boy panties on. Whatever it is, you need your panties.
I wear my
Put
big
them
boy
on.
pants.
Oh,
So it's like I've got good friends that I've had for almost 30 years, one guy, and we are on different sides of this political issue. And we get on each other sometimes, and I lay into him sometimes, but I always, when we're done with that, I always make sure I say, look, we talk about other things other than politics. Let's not just talk about politics. We disagree. Let's talk about the things we agree on, other things, and so on. You're going to say something again, Rainey?
Well, I was gonna say, look at your relationship with Ruben Fasthorse.
Yeah.
he's on the totally opposite end of how you feel.
Reuben Fasthorse. He is on a different end of the political spectrum than me.
Never have I seen him talk down to you. Or
Never talk down to me. Or badly.
You. He respects you. You respect him. You treat each
Yep.
other respectfully.
And it's like, I don't care if that's the way you're going to vote. You know what? That's not going to affect my love for you, my care for you. You're my brother. And that's the way our lives will continue. Yeah. And so, there you go. Good example.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
there you go. So now,
I have smart thoughts.
sometimes I'm smart. SMRT, smart. So studies are supporting that people tend to marry those who belong to the same political party. And one study even found that people might also find people of their own party as more physically attractive. I found Rainey very attractive. I was very drawn to her because I knew that she was conservative. Wow, look at that conservative hottie in that strung up bustier. Yum. So,
Jeez Louise.
so, and it's true. People tend to look within there. But Rainey and I don't think we knew each other's belief systems on politics until a few years after really knowing each other.
Things weren't as petty as they are.
They weren't as petty back then. I don't know when we first talked about, let's see, if Rainey and I have now been together, we met in 2005. That would have been 3 years before the Obama election, when Obama became president. Now, I'm sure we talked about it, but I don't remember. We were married in October of 2007, which is 13 years ago in a couple of weeks. And it was only, I thought it was 14. It seems like 15. We've been together for 15 years, but we've been married for 13.
Or I think we would have slipped this October by too.
Yeah. Well, I've been reminding my whole radio audience for weeks.
Right.
That,
So you don't forget?
So I don't forget. And so I don't think Rainey and I even, that wasn't on the list of considerations. Oh, check mark, are you conservative? Are you? Now, I did ask her if she liked Star Trek or not. That was very early on. It's like the first date and first time you wake up together in the morning and go, hey, that was a great night, but I forgot to ask you, are you a Star Trek fan?
Star Trek, yes. Star Wars, nah.
There you go. I'm a bigger Star Trek fan than Star Wars. So, boom, boom, boom. So, moving on. Bye. I know you were going out of here, unless you got more to
I
say.
gotta go get kids.
You got to go
I have a
get
lot
kids from
to
school.
say, but I have to go get
She has a lot to say.
I could fill up an hour in 5 minutes.
She could fill up an hour in 5 minutes. All right. Similarly, now, in the sphere of friendships, just like marriages, socializing with those of the opposing party is now less likely than it used to be. Like I say, my friend of would be 27 years, we met in 1993 working on a project together for a company. And we became great friends. He and his wife and I, and my wife at the time, all of us were great friends. Never once did politics get in the way of our friendship until just 2.5 years ago when he ended our relationship out of the blue, our friendship, because I was a Trump supporter. And seriously, that's all there was to it. He tried to bring in other things to try to justify his, but it all came down to that was his initial response and his initial reason. And so, and how could I support a Nazi and blah, blah, blah. So it happens in friendships now even more than ever. 27 years I've known this guy. For the first 24.5 years, politics never played a difference between us. So Einiger and his collaborates, they cite this research which found that roughly 64% of Democrats and 55% of Republicans report that they have just a few or no close friends who belong to the other political party. Now, the question is, how do you improve relations between Democrats and Republicans, or conservatives and liberals? And like I said, I've got good friendships with, I've got a friendship in Rocky, who is conservative like me. I've got a dear friendship with Reuben Fasthorse, who is on the other end of the political spectrum from me. So I've got both. But generally I am finding, too, that the people that care about you less are the people that are willing to discard you the easiest for your political beliefs. So Iyengar and his co-authors made these 2 recommendations to reduce the partisan discord that's overtaken our country. It goes like this. The first one is, research demonstrates that having the facts about party supporters can decrease animosity. The average person of both parties is a middle-aged, white, non-evangelical Christian, but this isn't who comes to mind when we think about Democrats and Republicans. Instead, we resort to partisan stereotypes, where Democrats are urban minorities and young people, and Republicans are older and wealthier or evangelical Christians. The point is, the average person in both the Democrats and the Republicans are non-evangelical Christians, people who have a Christian background, and they're white, and they're mostly middle-aged. This is the average, the median in both parties. Now, the authors of this research point to research that demonstrates how wrongly we perceive political outgroups. For example, approximately 11% of Democrats belong to a labor union. But survey data found that the average American believes that 39% of Democrats were union members. Now, remarkably, 44% of Republicans and 37% of Democrats held this view, respectively. And similarly, Republicans and 37% of Democrats held this view. But, similarly, more than 2.2% of Republicans make more than $250,000 per year. Only 2.2% of them. I've got people who think because they perceive me to be a Republican because I'm a conservative, but they think I'm made out of money. And my friends who do well in business, most of them know fairly well, I don't make a lot of money doing what I do. And yet there's a perception in people who don't know me very well. A lot of the festival people out there think that I am a greedy, wealthy, white, upper middle-aged. I don't know when I click into old age. If I'm going to be 60 this year, when do I become old-aged? I'm not elderly, but am I old age now, or am I still upper middle age? I don't know what I am. But most of Democrats believe that Republicans make a lot of money or make over $250,000 a year. I don't, by the way, make over $250,000. But it's only a mere 2.2% of Republicans or conservatives that have that kind of living. But the average person believed that 38% of Republicans had incomes that high. It's only 2.2%. So the second point, we could make an intentional effort to shift our attachment from our partisan identity to our common identity as Americans. We are all Americans. Thus, instead of seeing each other in terms of in-groups versus out-group members, we could all belong to the same in-group. We're Americans. We are exceptional because we are American. We are unified as Americans. So thankfully, research shows that when we emphasize our commonality as Americans, it reduces the animus that we have for those we believe oppose us. And that's where I'm going to leave this topic. So I hope you got something good out of this. Are you going to go out there? Go out there and promote not the fact that we're different because we're liberal or conservative or whatever, but that we're all alike because we are Americans and we all want this country to thrive, no matter on how we see that working the best. And that's why I'm a positive person, by the way, and optimistic for whatever's going to happen next. So, folks, thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow night, 23-hour break, and we'll be right back. Sit tight.